What's happening? I almost hit the desk with my knee trying to look cool in the video intro. All right. This video is going to be a little weird. I'm going to show you something that I learned about getting a lot of stuff done and having it be really easy and fun. And ultimately, that's really what the video is about. The video is actually about how to get what you want and have that be easy and fun. All right. So there's a little departure. It's going to be a little strange. It's totally cool if you think I'm weird about this. And yeah, I know this weird looking hat is cold. Don't give me a hard time. Okay. So you ever like sit down and plan goals or whatever? Like, you set a target and you're like, okay, I want to, make this thing happen. Like, for example, let's say that you want to make 100 grand. All right. So the very normal thing is like, all right, I want to make 100 grand and I want to do it in, I don't know, 30 days or whatever. Cool. Okay. This is the target, right? And so a normal process, which by the way, this process I'm about to diagram for you works okay. So I'm not here to say like, hey, this is wrong. I just kind of want to give you another option for getting things done. Anyway, just bear with me. All right. So we set this target, right? And usually what we do when we set a goal is like we start working backwards, and the first step, a lot of times, what we'll do in this process of working backwards, which is a bad thing, by the way, so just kind of bear with me, is we'll start looking at the raw materials we have, in order like, okay, I want to make 100 grand, great. And then our brain is like, all right, cool, we want to do this. Therefore, what do we have that can help us do that? Right. And so we'll start thinking about like, okay, we're looking at the raw materials. And let's say, for example, we're like, oh, I have this product and it sells for, I don't know, $1,000 or something. And when we get to that point, we've identified basically the vehicle. All right. And the vehicle is the thing that you're going to use to get here. Right. And so in this case, it is, I'm going to sell this product and I'm going to therefore, sell enough of them to the point of I hit my goals. Right. I don't know why that was a hard sentence to say, but whatever. Okay. So once we get here, all right, then we start to go into math mode. Okay. So in math mode, we're like, all right, I got the vehicle. It's this $1,000 product, let's say, right? And then we do the math. We're like, all right, so this is $1,000 product. Then how many of them do I have to sell to reach 100 grand? Okay, I got to sell 100. And then we start going back to raw materials again, where we're like, okay, what do I have that's going to help me sell 100 of these things? And we're in raw material world again. And you might realize, what I have at my disposal is I have the ability to advertise and I have a website and whatever. I have an email list or whatever it is. So you kind of gather mentally or you're writing it down and planning, and we get our little list of raw materials that we can use to, sell this thing. This is our vehicle to hit our target. Right. And let's say, we go back into math mode and we're like, okay, I have a web page and the web page sells the $1,000 thing or whatever. I'm just throwing that number out there because it's easy math. And that converts at 10%. Cool. All right. And so then we do a little bit more math and we realize, okay, therefore, if my web page that sells my $1,000 thing converts at 10%, then I can get here to this 100K target by driving 1,000 visitors to my site. All right. And we figured that out because, 1,000 times 10%, that equals 100 sales. All right. And that will be a very high converting website for $1,000 product. But again, I'm just like trying to do easy math. So here's what happens. Okay. Number one, this can oftentimes work. But number two, it can oftentimes like totally suck and make us stressed out and kind of cause overwhelm. So here's where this system can break if it's going to break. All right. And it's here. When we're in this world right here, when we're thinking about, all right, you know what, here's what I want to create. All right. I want to create this $100,000, payday within 30 days or whatever. I want to create this $100 or $100,000 bank balance in 30 days or a year, whatever it may be. We're in like this creative mode in our brain. And I think that's the strongest mode that we're going to have in our brain. Like that's where we're really firing on all cylinders. Once we get out of this and we start getting into this, math mode, so to speak, there's certainly nothing wrong with math mode, but what happens is our focus gets off of the target. And then we start putting all of our focus on the 1,000 visitors. And that can actually be okay. But the danger of it and where this goes off the rails, and if you find yourself like making plans and then like they don't come to fruition, it might be because instead of focusing on the mission, which is to get 100K, all of the focus is here on this 1,000 visitors thing. So our brain stops thinking about what we want and we start focusing on like the vehicle that's going to get us there. All right. So that's like a very common way to plan stuff and to get things done. And that's totally cool. And I'm not here to say it's bad or anyone's wrong or whatever, but I do want to show you something that's admittedly strange and a little out there, but it works pretty good for me. So maybe it'll work pretty good for you. Okay. So here are the 3 steps for this admittedly bizarre way of getting what you want. All right. So step number 1 is you still, just like in the first method, you want to set your target. And I'm going to call this your intention. All right. So set intention. That's what this stands for. I want to get 100 grand in this case, whatever it may be. Who cares, right? The number's not important, or it doesn't even have to be money. It could be whatever, but you're setting that intention. Okay, this is what I want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. So this is the mindset to go into it, but there's a caveat with this mindset, and this is like extremely important, and that is do it with principle. Okay, so if you're like, I want to get 100 grand, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, and like, even if I have to go out and knock on doors and, crawl over broken glass and lie, cheat, and steal and whatever, like, okay, that's not necessarily where we want to go. So you do want to like find out what your guiding principles are, things that you're just not willing to do, and keep those in mind when you're setting that intention. So in this case, you might say like, okay, I'm going to get 100 grand. Okay. And I'm going to do it in a way that I enjoy. And I'm going to do it in a way that helps other people. And I'm not going to do anything that goes against my own personal code of conduct, so I'm not going to steal from anybody. I'm not going to lie, whatever. And I'm not going to do anything that sucks. I don't want to pick up the phone and cold call people or whatever. So you get very clear on this. Like, this is my intention. Get this result, then I'm going to get it on my terms, end of story. And you like hold that. Right. So this becomes like this intention right here. When you setting this intention with principle, right? This intention becomes the primary focus. Now, if we compare this to the other way of doing stuff, our primary focus is the vehicle. All right. So we were like, all right, I got a thing. I can sell it for $1,000. I need to sell 100 of them. How am I going to sell 100 of them? I got to get 100 or 1,000 visitors because it converts at 10%. And now we're no longer focusing on the intention. Right. So this is step number 1. Now, step number 2 is to accept, and this is where I told you it was going to get weird. All right. Look, I got a weird hat on, for God's sake. I done told you it was going to get weird. All right. So step number 2 is to have faith in universal law. All right. So I'm using my mouse instead of a pencil here. So I'll just kind of abbreviate that. Faith in universal law. And here's what I mean. And again, like, this is my own personal philosophy. Take it or leave it, whatever. It's cool. Just test it. So, you can think I'm weird if you want to, and just test it. And if it works, you can still think I'm weird if you want to, but at least it will have worked and you'll have gotten what you want. So here's what I mean by universal law. All right. There are 2 things that I think are completely, they're law. They're universal law. I don't really know how else to make that sound cooler. And that's this. There's the rule of cause and effect. All right. So if you want something to happen, then if you want an effect to occur, such as this 100 grand, there are things that can be done that will cause that to happen. All right. Duh. So this is like universal law one. Universal law number two is what comes around goes around. All right. And I'll just call this like karma, which is kind of, I don't know if this is the best way to describe it in this particular context, but whatever. And it's the notion that, okay, the more that you give, the more that you're going to get. All right. So we got two little points here. Okay. Number one, we're going to set our intention with principle. All right. We're going to focus on this. I'm going to get this 100K. I'm also now going to operate. I'm going to do everything that I do to get this. I'm going to operate in complete faith that the universal law is true, that for every effect that I want, there's a cause that can like put in motion to make that effect happen. So I know that if I do certain things, I'm going to get this 100K. And I know that if I give a lot, then I'm going to get a lot. All right. So these are the parts where, especially in the short term, this can be like hard to sort of swallow a little bit. All right. So this third step of this now is to act accordingly and focus on the target. All right. So I don't know what to put. I'll just put act, focus. All right. So there we go. But there's a little more deep in this. Okay. So bear with me. All right. So the thing to focus on is not the vehicle. All right. So in the first example, all of our focus is on the vehicle. I'm going to get 1,000 visitors to the webpage that sells this one thing. I'm going to sell 100 of them at $1,000 a pop. I've got my 100 grand. All right. So instead of focusing on the vehicle, we focus on the intention, which is to make 100K and enjoy it, the process, and help people. All right. And stay true to whatever ethical guidelines that you have, which I'm sure are solid. Right. So we don't really need to explain that, but still, just in case. You know what I mean? So this is the thing that we're going to focus on. We're not going to worry about, okay, I got to get 1,000 visitors or whatever. We're going to focus on this. What happens when you do it this way is because you're staying in this like zone of creation instead of like almost this like stressed out, like, oh man, I get 1,000 visitors or whatever. It lets your brain be more creative and deliver to you more ways to actually make this happen. And for me personally, this approach has only worked every single time. All right. So maybe it's me. Maybe I've gotten lucky, but kind of try this. All right. So like you set your intention and you understand that, okay, you know what? I'm just going to provide a ton of value and everything's going to be okay. Now, it doesn't mean you just give away the farm and you never ask people to buy anything. That's not what I'm saying. What ends up happening is like, we know, right, that cause and effect exists. So in order for someone to buy something, that's the effect, right? We have to put these causes in place, which in our case, tying it back to marketing stuff would be like offers and everything. We know this to be true. All right. But when we're focused on this, instead of, I got to get 1,000 visitors, here's what your brain can often come up with, which is instead of like, all right, I got to get 1,000 visitors and the only way I know how to do that is to send like 20 million emails to my list or run a lot of Facebook ads or whatever it is. Instead of like having this linear approach to the 100K, if you stay focused on the intention right here and you're not afraid to like just massively put as much value out to your marketplace as you can, your brain will just tell you what to do. It'll just be like, all right, man, like here's what to do. And if you listen to it, it works out a lot. So what we have now is instead of one path to 100K, where we're just focusing on, I'm going to get 1,000 visitors to my webpage, and that's going to give me this 100 grand. Now what happens is when you sort of live in this zone of creation and you're like, okay, here's what I know to be true. All right. I know that if I focus on this, I'm probably going to get what I'm focusing on because that's just how the universe works. At least that's what I believe. If you focus on bad stuff, you're going to get bad stuff. If you really get crystal clear on what you want, and you take intelligent action, you're probably going to get what you want, right? I mean, okay. So if you take all of this stuff to be true, now what will happen is if you like kind of keep that mindset going, easier said than done, by the way. But if you keep this mindset going, then instead of this one street path, you're going to have, okay, I'm going to like focus on doing that. And I'm going to make this like series of videos that should have been a V, but whatever. Okay. So that's a V. And those videos are going to lead me there too. And I'm going to make this like these articles and I'm going to like give that out to my marketplace and that's going to drive people there as well. And you know what, man, I'm going to like make this other bit of content here where I'm teaching this and that's going to drive people there too. And you know what, I'm going to make a cooler offer structure and I'm going to tell people about it. So we'll just put that S and that's going to drive people there as well. And the longer that you stay in this creative frame of mind while holding that intention, you know, we can't like let go of the target. Like you want to hold that intention very, very like front of mind. But your brain is really freaking smart. Like if mine works, then surely yours is going to work. Okay. So like as long as you're in that state of creativity, your brain might be like, dude, you know what? Like this person that sells this product, their audience is a perfect complement to what you're doing. I bet they would like your thing. And now you like found a potential promotional partner, right? To help drive more people into this offer. And then you're like, dude, you know what? I think I'm going to do like a webinar and teach this one thing. And now you found another way to sell it. Like instead of the singular web page, now you got a web page that converts. And now you're starting to do a webinar that converts as well. And then, you know, you might come up with like, dude, I can also format this as a challenge and like also make this offer. So what happens is you're not doing 20 million things and being scattered or anything like that. You're constantly staying focused. Whoops, the one goes before the zeros at 100K, right? You're constantly staying focused on this target, but instead of this straight, rigid, linear line that doesn't have any creativity, you've now exponentially increased your ability to get here by simply following this concept. Now, again, dude, I've hopefully made it clear that like we're not going to make stuff happen by sitting around and thinking about it. I believe in the law of attraction. I also believe in the law of common sense. You know, like we do need to take action and do stuff. So all of these like these different ideas, these involve like the doing of stuff, right? So if you get this creative idea, like, oh, dude, you know what? I'm going to make this video series. I'm going to teach the coolest stuff ever. Like you actually have to make the video series and put it in front of people and, you know, tell them what to do. If you're going to write the article, and that's an idea, then you need to write the series of articles. And like, you know, the articles have the intent to create this. So when you're writing them, you're probably already going to know like, oh, okay, I should put a call to action in here, or here's where you can find out more. You get the idea, you know, if you're going to make even more content, you have to actually make the content. You can't just dream about it. And, you know, the content needs to have some intent behind it. Like, all right, I'm going to make this content so I can help these people get what they want. So they'll be more inclined to do business with me. And at the end of the day, that's really what all of this is doing is all these little circles here, you know, whether it's the video series or the article series or another piece of content or an alternate offer structure or a promotional partnership or a webinar or a challenge. All of these other creative ideas that help you get here to where you want, what we're really doing here is we're following this right here, which is universal law, because every single one of those ideas I just gave, like off the top of my head, ultimately, what are they doing? Like at the end of the day, hopefully, you know, they're helping you achieve this target, but what's the mechanism by which they're helping it occur? You're helping other people, which is you're now playing into this other universal law, you know, what goes around comes around. So this whole process right here basically allows you to get what you want because it opens the doors creatively in your brain so you can go out and you can help more people get what they want, which in turn makes them naturally, without you having to be obnoxious or pushy or whatever, it just makes them gravitate towards what you have to offer because you already done helped them. Proper grammar. Thank you very much. I'll be releasing my new book on how to talk good later this year. Okay. Anyway, I know it's a weird video and stuff, but Man, I don't know. This kind of thing works really, really well for me. It takes a lot of self-discipline, by the way, to stick with it, and not get into like worrying about what other people are doing or worrying about like if you're going to get judged for your content or being afraid that you're giving away too much and things like that. Like it's easier said than done with this incredible diagram here. But it really freaking works. Like I've been doing this internet thing since October of '99, so that's a lot of days. We're going into 23 years, and this whole approach works pretty good for me, man. So I know it's strange, but try it, and maybe it'll work pretty good for you too. I certainly hope it does. And I sure do appreciate you taking the time to watch this. You gave me some of your time today. You can't make more of that. We can make more money. We can't make more time. And you invested yours with me, and I sure do appreciate it. All right, man. Take it easy.